So yeah, still looking at security software dev, but
But we're doing general
yeah,
system design, yeah.
yeah, we're doing general. Like we're doing general.
Okay.
So whatever you feel is fit for that.
Okay. Okay, that sounds good. Then let's get into it then, shall we?
Sounds good.
Okay, cool, awesome. So for today's system design, I would like to design a platform like LeetCode. Okay, so this is a platform
Elite.
where we are able to, we have a client, a web client, let's just say, and the user is able to upload a piece of source code, right? And we need to be able to, run their source code, check that the answer is correct, measure some characteristics of the code like the runtime and memory usage, and then put them on a leaderboard.
Okay. Verify runtime, mem usage, and then leaderboards. Okay. Um. Okay. So essentially, we just have a web client, so they can upload source code, and then system actually winds up running that source code, verifying that the answer is in fact correct, and also checking the runtime and memory usage, and then also having a leaderboard for. Do we want separate leaderboards for like runtime and memory? I presume, or like
Yeah.
what's
So we have different problems, and each problem will have a separate leaderboard for the runtime and the memory.
okay? So per problem, um, leaderboards or runtime. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, uh, functional requirements are more or less there, I think. Let's talk non-functional requirements. What kind of, how many daily active users are we looking at?
So for platform lead code, we're looking at about 1 million.
Okay, so we've got about 1 million daily active
Mm-hmm.
users. Um, am I okay to assume that folks are solving like maybe one or two questions a
Yeah,
day,
that's fine.
or like, okay, so one to two questions per day. Now, if I know anything, then I know source code is actually fairly small, like maybe I don't know, a couple kilobytes per request, because like it's like one or two one thing of source code.
Yeah, you can assume that. You
Um,
can assume that. So that
I can
sounds
assume
enough.
that.
Yeah.
Average of 1 kilobyte source code per upload request. Um, are we more focused on, let's see, I remember there being like availability and then data consistency that
Mm-hmm.
we need to worry about. Which of those two are our primary concern?
For this one, it would just be availability.
Okay, focus on availability. Okay. Non-functional requirements. Okay. Uh, how's that looking for non-functional requirements so far?
That
Anything
looks
I'm
about
missing?
right. One thing I will like to maybe also call out is that about the leaderboards. People will oftentimes look at the leaderboards many times a day because they're interested in
Okay.
they're interested in who scores the highest.
Okay. So leaderboards are frequently visited.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's actually good to know. And then, but are so like let's say how many times are people looking at the
Let's
leaderboards
say 10
per
times
day?
per question they submit.
Okay, 10 times per question per day per submit. Okay, wow. Um, that's what? So per question per day per submit. So if we have 1 million daily active users, they're answering about 1 to 2 questions per day on average. Um, and then if we're checking, so that's like 10 million
Yeah, we can.
leaderboard requests. So that's 1 million daily active users times 1 to 2 per day. or yeah, 10 to 20 million. Okay, so going forward, what exactly do you want me to focus on?
So,
In terms of like, because I know, we could go more into like the API
mhm.
design. We could go more into like how are we actually going to make this available to work? Like, what do you want me to focus on
Yeah, so the
primarily?
first thing I want to focus on is there's kind of two parts to this question, I think, right? The first part
Yeah.
is about making the client functionality work in terms of the code submission, and the
Right.
second part is about measuring runtime memory and the leaderboard system. So I would like
Okay.
to first sketch out the just a we don't need to go into detail, but I want to know what API requests there will be. Like you don't need to go detail what the parameters are, but I want to know what APIs there will be for both of these parts, and then I would like to
Mhm.
start sketching out a system design for the first part, for the code submission.
Okay. Um. So okay. So reading that back, so we want to have so we want to focus on the code submissions, and then also how that stuff runs, and then we also want to focus on the. So we have essentially three things that we want to focus on, if I understand this correctly. So we have the code submissions, we have the verification of the runtime, or the complexities, I guess, and we can factor in both time and space into that, and then the leaderboard.
Yeah.
Cool. So, code submissions, I think we can probably just do get and post for those. Um, I don't imagine people are going to want to delete these submissions, so we'll look at getting the submissions, also looking at posts, or no, get all submissions for a user. We can also get submissions for a problem. We don't want to worry about solutions. I suppose I know LeetCode
Yeah.
itself has a solutions feature, but I think we can just worry about
Yeah, that's not in
getting
scope for our problem.
submissions. That's on scope. Cool. So let's create a new submission. And then what I'm thinking is, considering like the verification of the runtime and stuff like that, all kind of happens in tandem with the code submissions. Like once a submission is created, it's automatically evaluated. So I'm thinking there might be kind of like a chain there.
Hmm.
Um,
I will say
so this
that
is more of a
we probably
back end.
don't for these two we don't need to focus on as much. Also, I'll put these as optional. Okay. And the reason is
Okay.
just because the feedback mechanism here isn't that important. The most important part for the
Okay.
code submission is that the user can submit a piece of code and get feedback if it's correct or not. That's kind of the baseline
Okay.
functionality.
Okay. Cool. That's very good to know. So, and then the leaderboard. So we basically just want to kind of get the highest scores for a particular problem. Whatever that looks like, we'll work that out. So problems would probably be referenced by either an ID or a slug. Thinking, okay, let's look at the actual. So actually, before we move on to data model, how's that looking for the API itself?
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. We can move.
That's fine.
We can move on with this for now. Yeah.
Sure. So the data model itself, we're going to want. Obviously, we need users. Um, we need questions to, or I guess problems to actually ask. We need submissions, and then I guess we have the leaderboard, but we can probably just use the existing things for that. We can probably just like map submissions into questions and problems, display that on a leaderboard, and that'll be it. Let me see here. User model, so we'll just get name, email, probably just some kind of unique ID for the database. Considering the data is fairly structured here, I'm thinking we can use a relational database. I don't know if you would disagree with that.
No, that's fine. We can go with that.
Cool. Questions and problems. So they'd have unique ID. You can also probably say we'll have a slug for them for the sake of, because I know in actual leak code they have like that a slug for a question. So like just the lowercase with dashes in the middle,
Hmm. Yeah.
and that'll just help quickly and uniquely identify a problem. without having to, go through IDs
Yeah,
and
yeah,
whatnot.
that's fine.
And then name, description. I know that we're probably going to need some constraints as well of some kind. Um, and then that might be, uh, yeah, that might
This
be
this is
either
something
like
we don't need to
JSON
worry
form.
about too much right now. The only information that we
Okay.
need on the client or even internally for the problem is that we need to have a string description to show the user and IDs and names of that. That's all fine, right? And then
Right.
internally we need to have you can have, for example, a configurable timeout for the time,
Right.
so something like that could be fine. And that's all we need. We don't need to worry about anything else for now, unless you think there's something needed for the problem. But in terms of what the customer needs, that's all we need.
Yeah. I mean, actually, if we're running that server side, I know we'd probably need like some test cases.
Yep, some test cases as well. Yeah.
Yeah, some test cases. And then submissions, we can probably just go with a unique ID. And then we'll also need to map solution to problems. And then we can assume these are just foreign keys. So we can just retrieve those later. And then the actual source code. We'll probably also just store the runtime and space taken. Okay. Oh, and then I guess memory bound. Probably do it as well for questions and problems. Okay. How are we looking on this front?
Yeah, that's definitely enough to move forward. Let's move forward. One thing I want to highlight here is that, again, we're trying to focus the high level system design first of all on just getting the submit flow working. So we want the customer to
Just getting the
submit
submit flow
source code. So they want it to have to pull it, so to read the problem, right? They have to get the problem, they have to submit the code, and they get feedback on if it's correct or not. That's kind of that. Like this is the baseline function that
That's
we
a
want to
baseline.
make first. Yeah. So let's just focus on that.
Cool. All right, that makes sense. So we want to focus on the submission first and foremost. Okay. So let's focus on that, and then we can probably just extend the system later. Okay. So let's say that we have some kind of submission service, or I guess like call it submission API. And whether or not this will get folded into the main API, we'll see in a second. So web client, obviously, they're going to make a request to that submission API whenever the user wants to upload their code. Alternatively, we could also need to get some kind of a problem. Oh yeah, we'd also, yeah, I'm realizing that. So we'd need, so user would need to,
Okay.
so initially the user would actually need to fire off a request to actually get a problem, and then we'd probably be able to have some kind of submission API and then map, and then within the request itself we can map the submission problems, and then let's see, so submit a solution. So client probably runs the probably writes their code on the web client. They do their thing. Once they submit a solution, we hit the submission API, and then we're going to get to a point where we need to do a few things. So first thing, obviously, we need to actually execute the code. For this, I'm probably going to have some kind of containerization system. So this way, we'll actually be able to execute the code in an isolated environment. Because what we do not want is we don't want code actually executing on the server.
Yeah.
This is, like remote code execution. It's the bug to end all bugs, right? It's not something you want in your system. So we're going to want to keep that isolated. And then I'm thinking, okay, so we want to focus on availability rather than consistency, I suppose, right? So if a like I'm thinking like would it be better to like once the submission is fired off, store that store the record of like, hey, there was a submission that happened here, and maybe there's like some kind of status check, or
Hmm.
do we want to save the submission after it's run in the container, and then if the container fails, we just kind of like tell the client and then not even record it.
Well, the client definitely needs to know if it. I mean, the client needs to have a result at the end of the day. So even if it's an error, for example, the client should know to rerun it.
Yeah, okay, that's what I'm thinking. And then, if we do somehow get an error, then we can just kind of result in it. Oh no, wait, no, if it's a submission, if it's an actual proper submission, then they'd probably want a record of it failing because, that failure might be to either a timeout or timeout or running out of memory. So in that case, so let's get a database system up and running here. I'm gonna black box this for now because I know we're gonna worry about scaling it later, but I'll just black box this.
Hmm.
That cool. So submission API. So what's gonna happen here is thing number one. We're gonna probably record a submission as happening. No, we're not. We're gonna do thing one and thing two in a couple of different orders here.
Okay.
So thing number one, we're actually gonna execute the problem, and then thing number two. So like this would probably involve like spooling up a worker thread or tracking a message queue. Oh, okay, no. I'm overcomplicating this already. So let's just get something quick and dirty out the window. So first and foremost, we actually request. First and foremost, we actually run the code. Second of all, we're going to store the result of that submission.
Okay.
Of that submission. Now I know this is probably going to wind up with some kind of issue on like, okay, what happens if the submission fails for something that isn't related to the actual source code they submitted? Like, let's say the container just stops responding altogether.
Yeah.
This could go either one of two ways. So this could go one of two ways. Either we, one, use a message queue in some kind of way, and then maybe pair that with WebSockets. Or two, we have a dedicated worker thread.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then whenever we need to actually spool up kind of these containers to actually execute the code, then I'm thinking, that said though, if we're looking at 1 million requests, like if we're looking at 1 million code submissions per day, that's going to be a lot of threads. That's like, what, 1 million divided by, I don't know.
It is a lot, yeah.
Yeah, so it would be a fair amount. So unless we can handle like, so that would be like 24 times 60 times 60 times. Yeah, so we have 24 hours in the day, 60 minutes in an hour, 60 seconds in a minute. So that is going to be 24 times 3,600. It's gonna be, yeah, pretty easily, probably.
You can use a calculator. I don't mind using calculators.
Oh yeah, okay, that's fair enough. I'll just run that through Python. The OG of calculators. All right. So it's less than 100,000. Like in terms of just like seconds per day that we have to work with.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're like, that's easily like multiple requests per second. So that's like what, 1 million. Oh, nope, that is not have that correct. Oh, okay, so that's actually about 11 requests per second. That's actually not that bad for worker threads. I'm gonna be completely honest.
Yep.
Like that's not realistically that bad. Like obviously, if we wanted to scale this up, to say like 100 million users, then I'd probably start looking into message queues and WebSockets. But for the time being, I feel like just spooling up a worker thread works fine. Like,
Yep.
do you
No,
disagree with
no,
that?
that's totally fine.
Cool. All right, let's operate on that. So, essentially, so yeah, so we just kind of spool up a worker thread, and then, you know, API kind of goes off and does its thing. Now, I imagine that when we do spool up this worker thread, we're going to have it so that I think we're still going to wind up using WebSockets anyway, because what I'm thinking is when this worker thread, stops executing, right? So let's actually move this over here then. So once this worker thread stops executing, it's going to send a response back to the client, and then that response will probably be through some kind of WebSocket. So, and then that'll indicate, whether we had an error, whether we had a successful run, whether, something else completely burst into flames.
Mm-hmm.
Client will know that way. So I think what we'll do instead is we'll have this going here. So for the submission API, so we'll just, so one bin up worker, then that worker will actually run the code. And then, so that worker will then run the code. Once that code finishes, we can probably just have the worker store the result directly. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I realize this is getting a little bit chaotic, but that's fine.
That's fine.
We're just kind of moving quickly. And then we can probably send the results through a WebSocket. Okay. So yeah, we store the results. And then for the problem API, this is just fairly simple. This is just going to be getting the problem. This is obviously considering, just working with problems and then submitting solutions.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. That, yeah, that looks about it for as far as the submission stuff
Okay.
goes. And then obviously, IT security, those guys can worry about the containerization and how
Yeah.
to lock that down. But for the sake of system design, I think this is looking pretty good. What's your take on this?
No, I'm in agreement there. I think the correctness is there. Let's move into the leaderboard then.
Sounds good. All right. So for the leaderboards, we're going to actually probably have to go through. Yeah, I'm thinking we can probably have a separate leaderboard API because this would be, going through the. Yeah. So, yeah, getting the highest scores for a particular problem. So we actually did do that. And then, yeah, so we have a web client, and so whenever they want to get a whenever they want to get the leaderboards for a particular problem, they can just use the leaderboard API. We can just have that separate because I
Mm-hmm.
imagine that'll probably be distinct from the problems and submissions. Now, you mentioned that the leaderboard is fairly popular.
Yeah.
So we're looking at like 10 times per question, and then 1 million daily active users, like 1 to 2 questions per day. Like we're looking at in the scope of like 10 to 20 million leaderboard requests per day.
Yeah.
So let me see how many. So that would probably be on the order of like 100 requests per second. That's not something that we want to use database hits for. So I'm thinking we're going to want some kind of caching solution. So let me think this through. So I imagine that the like, can we assume that there are going to be some problems that are more popular than others?
We can assume that. Yep.
Okay. So in that case, what we can probably do um, is, once a problem is requested, then we cache it.
Mm-hmm.
So like, for instance, and this is like assuming we get a cache miss for a particular problem.
Okay.
So like if we're using something like Redis, right? We just have the problem ID, and like obviously, some internal part of the API would probably map problem slug into the problem ID. I'm just gonna kind of black box that for now, and we can get into that detail later. Um, so we go from uh, key, no, ID, and then we map that to the actual problem plus submission. So what I'm thinking, right, is we just do so we can probably like whenever we have a database, and then we can probably use the last modified, right? So
Okay.
we can probably do last modified, and what that's going to do as part of the key is I'm assuming this is kind of assuming that our database has last modified in as a default, but what that does is if we have an outdated um, problem for which we have submissions.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. So I'm thinking, like I'm imagining somehow we could store the last modified, and I'm thinking this might be, or maybe like last submission. There we go. That'll do it.
Okay.
So I'm thinking if we store that as the last submission, right? And then whenever we're storing the result, we update that last submission. This would allow us to actually have a cache where, as long as the problem that we have hasn't had an updated submission, then we'd get a cache hit and we'd be able to get that problem and all of its submissions.
Right.
So
So leaderboards. How are you envisioning the leaderboard being? So what is actually shown to the client?
So what I'm thinking is if we're looking at a particular problem ID,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then, so obviously like getting the leaderboards, so we're looking at a particular problem. So I'm thinking then that we would probably have two separate cases for runtime
Mm-hmm.
and then memory.
Yeah. Sure.
And then also, oh, no, runtime, memory, and then I think language as well would also probably
We
be.
don't need to worry about language
Um,
for now. Yeah.
don't need to worry
Yeah.
about. Okay, cool. That's good. So yeah, we'd have separate leaderboards for runtime and
Mm-hmm.
memory. What I'm thinking is considering every problem is going to get runtime and memory anyway. We would probably want to figure out something to do with like pagination, right? Because that way we would be able to
Okay.
kind of get the yeah, so that way users wouldn't be like absolutely overwhelmed with the level of data. So wait, okay, I'm realizing this is kind of at odds with each other regarding the caching strategy and then also having like a page. So
Just
what am
so
I
so
thinking?
just to back up, the original question was like what is the client seeing when they get the leaderboard API?
Right. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Kind of lost track of that.
Yeah.
So the client, what they're seeing is, so we're not worried about language right now.
Mm-hmm.
What the client is actually seeing is a list of submissions. So in one column we might have ordered by best runtime, and in another column we might have ordered by, I suppose, by memory, and then they'd be able to kind of like swap between the two, something like that. I think, or what we could do is we could do so I guess what I'm envisioning is like we have a column, we have like basically a table,
Yep.
right, on the client side, and it has all the submissions, and then it has the runtime and the memory usage inside, like as separate columns,
Yep.
but they're all in the same entry. And then the user can probably go ahead and say sort by, okay, let's sort by runtime, or let's sort by time complex, or let's sort by memory usage, right?
Okay, I see. So what's the default? So what's the default ordering when it's shown to the client first?
Usually people think in terms of runtime,
Okay.
so I'm gonna say a runtime is
Okay.
first. So I think we could actually cache the submissions in order of runtime, actually.
Okay.
So like we can use that cache in order of runtime because that's gonna be our default.
And and
So
um and you mentioned pagination. Uh, but how many submissions are you caching?
let's just say we can cache. Yeah, that's a good question. So how many submissions am I caching? I'm thinking we'd probably want to cache, I'd say the first 10, or no, the first let's say the first 50.
Okay.
And then if there, and then obviously as more submissions go on, you'd have to like explicitly request
Uh huh.
um different pages. So I think those are okay for database hits, but for the sake of like let's say the top 50, um we shouldn't have to worry about that. And we like, because I am, what I'm guessing, right, and you can correct me if I'm
Mm-hmm.
wrong on this, what I'm guessing is that users are probably going to um, request like just the first page of the leaderboards just to see what's there, and then maybe also their location in the leaderboard.
Yeah.
um and like for the latter, I think um I think getting that database hit, that cache hit on the top 50, probably going to be a little bit more important than
Mm-hmm.
getting a cache hit on an individual user, because you never like, how many times is an individual user going to check the leaderboard in the day?
Only for the problems they submit, just once.
Right,
And
right.
submit
So
on chain.
it's
Yeah.
once a day, not something we really need to worry about caching. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking just getting that top 50 result cached per problem, and then for the last submission, obviously, in case that updates things. So I think so we realistically only cache the first 50.
Okay. Cache your first 50. That makes sense.
Yep. And then I imagine, the page itself, we can go like up to 50, maybe even. And then for pagination, obviously, this will kind of determine, whether we go either straight for the cache, if they're just getting the top 50
Mm-hmm.
result, or, if they're just getting, maybe results among their friends. I don't know what kind of specific APIs are going to be going on here, but there's probably some level of parameters that might happen here. But the key thing is, we're going to want some level of pagination where, if they request, say, page two, or they just request their own position in the leaderboards, instead of going straight to the cache, because there's no point in going there, then we'll just do a database hit, and then that'll probably, for our purposes, I think that should be okay. What's your take on that?
I think that makes sense at a high level. I want to hear a little bit more about your cache eviction strategy, if there is one.
Cache eviction strategy. That is a good point. So once we're looking at problem IDs and last submission, I'm thinking there are two ways we could go about this. Um, One is we could just have like a 24-hour expiry. So let's say, oh, actually, timeout, an expiry timeout. I think what we can do is, let's say, every hour or every 24 hours. Thinking, because again, some problems are going to be more popular than others.
Yeah.
Um, Now, when do you expect the popularity to like fluctuate? Is it on an hourly basis? Is it on a daily basis? Like
I'd say
how's this
what
working?
every day there's a new problem, let's say, and it's the most popular on the first day, and it follows a power curve down.
Okay, follows the power. Okay, that's actually super handy. So what I'm thinking is a 24-hour reset. Let's say at midnight Pacific,
Mm-hmm.
for the sake of standardizing this. And then what happens is we clear out the cache at midnight,
Okay.
and then what that does is that'll just kind of, okay, we just wipe those like cached problems and submissions for the leaderboard,
Hmm.
and then we start fresh. And then, if that problem still remains popular, that's fine. There is still going to be that, one request that's slightly slower, but if that popular problem is still as popular as the day that as the other day, then that's fine. As long as we still have those top 50 submissions, I think we're in a good spot.
Okay. Yeah. No, I think that's fine.
What's
Yeah.
You think that's
Yeah.
fine? Okay. Cool. So we've got about a kilobyte of source code per upload request. Oh, you know what I'm realizing?
Yeah.
Um, the source code itself, that won't be great to store in a database.
Okay.
So instead, the source code, what I'm thinking, maybe let's store the source code URL. Because if we have, let's say, like an S3 bucket, right, we can just kind of like retrieve the source code from that.
Okay. Yeah.
If we ever need to like get that. So let's say, yeah, or sorry. So let's say we have an object storage somewhere. I'm not going to necessarily use AWS S3 because I'm not super familiar with like the nuts and bolts of that. But I imagine there's some degree of access control. So
Yeah.
if people want to do like private submissions, they can. But that's again, that's an if.
Sure.
So, yeah. So I'm thinking for the so I'm thinking we might also just have the result storage kind of branch off from here, and then pop that in there, and then
So we're saying that the
obviously,
worker thread is storing the source code in the object store.
yeah. Well, the worker thread would need to have access to the source
Retrieve it.
code,
Okay.
right?
I see.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, you store the result, and then the result comes with the source code URL, and that source code itself is getting saved into object storage.
Okay.
And these are all kind of part of the same steps, which is why I just have that one there. And then for the leaderboard API, we can also just do a thing where we effectively kind of wrap around here, and this is a little chaotic, but we kind of just wrap around here. Okay. For the sake of this,
Right. So leaderboard's also what's going on there? Is it reading or writing to the object store?
this is going to be a read,
Okay.
actually. So yeah. Thank you for asking that. Because I imagine, if somebody goes like, "Hey, this submission is like kind of insano for runtime," they're probably going to want to, get the source code for that.
Yep.
So we can just have the leaderboard API do that. Because, like, again, we're just storing the object URL, whether that is in the cache or in the,
Sure. Yeah.
whether that's in the cache or in the database, right? It's got a much smaller profile than the actual source code. So we can just have that in object storage, and then once we need that, we can URL, and then we're good. For unusual page,
Okay.
and then 50. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's for object storage, and that's just both to kind of maintain availability, because I imagine the object storage is going to be. Oh no, wait, no, I remember this from last time. The object storage actually might be better off if just the web client requests it directly, because then what might happen is oh yeah. So in that case, what we can do is something like this, where I'm imagining like the object storage as being like an external thing, since like seriously, who hosts their own
Yeah.
S3 bucket, right? So what I'm thinking in this case is that we have once you get the results, right? Then we can just post the um, then we can just have something to like post the source code of the submission, right? And then that way that'll avoid that internal network request to something that might take a hot minute to respond. So 5 save source code. And then never mind. I just realized if we're writing it only once, then that shouldn't be as big of an issue. Never mind. My initial solution was fine. What am I doing? Because if we're only writing the results to the object storage, we're only doing that once, which is fine. However, if we're asking someone to read the source code, and we're asking basically everybody to do that, we don't want the Leaderboard API to get hung up on grabbing stuff from S3. So we can just say, hey, here's the URL for the source code to the web client, and then they can go retrieve that themselves.
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna give a 5-minute warning here, so we can wrap this up soon if you got nothing else about this spec.
I don't really have anything else about the spec. I mean, we could have probably gone into like database optimization, but I'm imagining there's probably going to be some level of like a sharding strategy. So if you're happy leaving it off there, I'm happy leaving it off there.
We can leave it off there, but maybe one thing I will give you a chance to elaborate on is you do assume some order of sorting, ordering. How are you planning to do that?
That's a good question. So I'm thinking that whenever we actually I forgot to mention, so whenever we're actually at some point we are going to have to like write this to the cache. So whenever our leaderboard API, whenever we get a cache miss, and it is for that top 50, right? Yeah. So this is kind of the only time this happens. When it is for that top 50, we run a sort on the runtimes, and then so we essentially run a sorting algorithm. That's going to be like n-log-n if we're using something like merge sort, and that's just going to be on the runtime field. So yeah, and we have a so we already have a runtime field in the submissions data model. So we can use that and just kind of sort by that. I'm imagining it's probably going to be some like number value depending on the database you use, probably Unix timestamp if I had to hazard a guess, and then we could just do a straight sort by numbers on that. Lowest one wins.
What's the and you mentioned and what's the complexity of that? Are we sorting the because one thing they didn't say here explicitly, but I assume is the case, is that we're partitioning the submissions by problem, right?
Yeah, we are partitioning the submissions by problem.
Right, and in that case, so you mentioned this. So the complexity of sorting is n-log-n, which is generally true. Why do you think that is true for this case?
Actually, I guess if we're sorting this thing using because I'm imagining that we're comparing submissions of a given problem to each other.
Yeah.
And then the reason why it's n-log-n is because there's actually like a lower bound on sorting that is omega n-log-n, and then there's a proof for that that's based on a comparisons that I'm not going to get into. But yeah, n-log-n is going to be the best you're going to get as far as the sorting algorithm goes.
Okay. Okay, let's call it here. I think that's about it for this design.
Sounds good.
Let's go over some feedback then. But as I always do, open up with how do you feel you did? Anything you think that was good or bad?
I feel like the time management was a bit better than last time. Or at least that's how I felt. I didn't feel like too rushed going into that last sector of it. That said, I could be entirely wrong. I'm not super great at being aware of how much time is going on.
Okay.
But That said, I think I was also able to kind of translate some of the lessons learned originally. Even sometimes necessarily when um, I guess I did forget about that one pattern we mentioned a while ago where there was we had like that message queue
Mm-hmm.
of
Yeah.
of uh, merges. Um, that said, I think considering we're working with like maybe 11 requests per second, I think the work I know we went over that initially, and like we said,
Yeah.
okay, it's if it's about 10 requests per second, worker threads shouldn't be too much of an issue.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that said, if we want to scale that up, I think we'd probably want to look into that message queue solution.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Um, and then I also realized I learned from last time about the external object store
Yeah.
and how to avoid that bottleneck
Mm-hmm.
with the internal network. So I think overall I'm pretty happy with that.
Okay. Cool. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Sure,
Um,
100%.
couple of good things off the bat. Let me put my notes up. Couple good things off the bat. Good pacing today, right? Good pacing today. That was good. And part of that good pacing was because you were checking in frequently with the interviewer, and you were asking reasonable questions to to kind of leverage that, right? So asking
Okay,
about
awesome.
how's the pace, asking about is this can we move on, asking about the API detail we need to go into, that kind of stuff is good for like questions that aren't about the actual problem are okay to ask because that's just meta level stuff the interviewer can help you with. So that's good. That was a standout over here. Um, let's get into some more technical details then.
Sure.
Yeah, so the client, the non-functional requirements are all fine. One thing that I will say that isn't really a like a miss, but something you should have probably asked was, like one of the uh, characteristics missing from your non-functional requirements is like how many problems there are on the site, because that would affect your
That
caching
is a good point.
strategy.
Yeah.
And
That is, yeah, oh, I can't believe I didn't think to ask that. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
yeah, so that would for the reason that's not really the end of the world is because one that issue isn't in the world because for the caching strategy we can talk about this a little bit. Um,
Yeah.
like all the signs in this problem pointing towards using a least frequently used cache, and why that's the case is because as the problem spec you say top 50 problems, top 50 submissions per problem. And I gave it to you. I said there's a power curve, and reality doesn't really matter what it is. But regardless, at the end, you kind of still talk about the same thing where you want to reset the cache and let the most popular questions bubble up, per se. This is essentially, and you're doing this manually, but this is essentially what a least frequently used cache does, right? Where it just, it caches an object, and the object in this case, right, is a problem plus its top 50 submissions. That is an object, right? And
Okay.
then you just toss out the objects that aren't requested as much, and that would be
That's
agnostic.
interesting.
That would be agnostic towards how the distribution of popularity, and that would be also agnostic towards the time of the problem, right? There could be like a famous problem that's released a long time ago that people still want to do, and that would just never get released
Right.
from the cache because
Because
obviously,
everyone's
yeah, it would
doing
just
it.
always be requested.
Okay. So least frequently used hash. That's actually super interesting. I never knew about that until now.
Yeah, so that's something you can. I mean, you probably heard of like least recently used or etc. So these are all eviction strategies, right? Because when the cache fills
Those are all
up,
fictions.
you had to evict something, and so what do you evict? So you
Right.
evict, in this case, is least frequently used, which in this case is least
Okay.
frequently read, right? So that's what use means in this case. Yeah, so that's
Okay. Well, either way,
yeah.
still, still, yeah. So yeah, I was kind of doing that, except not. So I guess.
You would have had the
Um.
same outcome because you still reset it, but that would be more error prone and it would be slower because you would only reset every 24 hours. So if the frequency
Right.
updated in the middle of the day, that would not be caught. That would not be it would be a misses for the entire day. If it, for example, you reset the cache and then the next day was completely different.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, and then while we're in this area, we can talk a little bit about the leaderboard. So leaderboard in general, the API design's fine. One thing I will say though about the object store, and this is something you definitely did catch, is that availability for leaderboard is both a function of the leaderboard API and the object store, and
Okay.
it's more of a function. There's a more heavy weight on the leaderboard API than the object store, Because remember, for the way our client works, you can only, the way you described it actually, is that you can only view the object store with the leaderboard already loaded, right? Because that's how you request a submission, because that URL is part of the leaderboard, like a return request, right?
Right.
So in this case, having the client redirect from the object store doesn't actually add any availability, because the bottleneck is still on the leaderboard API.
Bottleneck is still okay. Good to know.
Right? Because if the leaderboard API fails, it doesn't matter that you can read the object store. You don't know what the URL is.
Right.
So this case, got to be careful in that, yeah, this works in theory, but actually the way the product works, it doesn't do anything. Right?
Okay.
Now, on the other hand, there is some merit to having the one you deleted actually, the web client write the submission directly to the object store. There's a bit of merit to that. And this would depend on how we're kind of, I mean, I'd still say this is not a good thing, but you could argue for it in that, you say, oh, the web client directly submits the what is it called, source code to a because you can say, okay, every user gets a pre-signed URL, right? So and they know this and this is on the client. This is in the secret cookies, whatever we want to call it. Well, it wouldn't be the cookies, but it would be in the secret data store on the client. And so
it would be somewhere.
Yeah. And so and so the client wouldn't need to go to the submission API to get a to get a URL, because you would already have a pre-sent URL. And so you could argue, hey, because for the client to submit a piece of source code that doesn't require the submission API, that would be higher availability, and that would be objectively true. Now, what that would mean for the product, we didn't define clearly. Like, did we say, is a system supposed to continuously scrape external submissions to that store to run to process? We didn't clarify that, but you could still argue that method at least would provide additional availability. So you got to keep in mind, availability is both a function of the actual technology and a function of how the product works. So that's something to consider for the future.
Good to know. Okay. So so if I understand it correctly, so was my method better or worse than the one that you were talking about, where like you actually have that pre-signed URL?
Yeah. So is it better or worse? In this case, it's the same, because that was not part of the product spec. If, for example, the product spec was that you must process all of the submissions, no matter their source, so they could be sent from the official web client, or it could be sent directly through API, like through like a some other third-party client or something, right? In that case, then there is merit to using the other system, because if the client is down, or if the page load server, for example, we didn't draw this thing because it's not important, but the client's also like the client has to first make a request to the HTTP server to get the actual JES and HTML to render to the client, right? So if that server's down, but the submission API is still up, then you would have a problem with the solution, because you're reliant only on the web client, right? So then it would be a problem. But because we said that we only have one client, that's not an issue, right? So but be aware that could have been a follow-up, right? That could have been a follow-up. Okay, let's say we have 30-party clients now, right? Then what's the bottleneck now? Then you must realize that, oh, the weak link is now the submission API being the only source of submission.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Good to know.
Yeah, for sure. So another thing is what I have here. Math, you can use a calculator for math. Almost everyone will use it. But there are some things you should still know, like just memorize. Like, there are 86,000 seconds in a day, just assume it's 100,000. And also, this is something for your quick math, is that you could just run to the nearest power 10 for all numbers. It doesn't matter. Just run to the nearest power 10 for all numbers.
Yeah, well, the thing about that was I was just trying to figure out whether that power of 10 was 100,000 or a million, because I knew it was in that ballpark. But it was like I want to have a bit more surety. I
mean, for these kind of things, you should just memorize that there's 100,000 seconds in a day, because all of the numbers framed to you will be per day, like requests per day, how many users per day. All these things will just be per day. So just memorize there's 100,000 seconds in a day, or just use a calculator. So that's kind of how that works.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm thinking I might do going forward, or just.
I mean, you could definitely ask, but generally speaking, people are hiring you for your ability to do mental math, so that's usually okay.
Fair enough.
Okay, so next thing we'll talk about is scalability. So of course, this is not the concern here. You did the math, you found out that this is suitable for the requests we get, but keep in mind that actually the bottleneck here is not the number of requests we get. Because the thing you're thinking about is how many workers can we spin up per second? And the answer, yeah, sure, you can do 11 per second. That's not a problem. But one thing you didn't mention is
the bottleneck is the containers.
Right. So the containerization is going to be a bottleneck, because first of all, you have 11 new containers per second, essentially, you're doing, right? In addition to that, But you also glossed over this a little bit, which is what does it take to spin up a container? Like what does a container lifecycle look like? Right. So okay, we need an image.
Right.
Where's the image from? Okay,
Mm.
let's say we're using EC2. Okay, whatever. Right. So we have an image. We use a base Amazon rail what's it called, enterprise. Like, oh, it's Red Hat one, Ubuntu one, doesn't really matter. So run this thing. Great. It has to download the source code, so it has to have the code. Right. Now the source code is only 1 kilobyte, but right, the throughput's not the issue. The issue is the latency. Where are we getting the source code from? From S3. Great. Gotta have that system in place. Right. All these kind of things we can, like, for this level of design, we can kind of gloss over, but realize that if the question now changes to, okay, let's say we go to 100 million, right? So now you can't use worker threads. You can have and you said we can have a queue. A queue would be great, but that still doesn't solve the problem of how do you organize the containers, right?
Right.
So that's going to be, that would be the in this case, that would be the number one bottleneck for this system.
Got it.
And
Okay.
I don't know if you realize that, but generally speaking, you should be calling out that, oh, if we scale up, this is going to be the bottleneck. This is going to be the bottleneck if we hit this and this many users, etc. If you can kind of pinpoint that, that would be kind of the best way to kind of talk about that, even
Yeah.
if we don't, even if that's not an issue right now.
Yeah. I think what kind of my Achilles heel there was just, yeah, honestly, I kind of forgot about the containerization.
Okay.
Like, just being straight up,
Yeah.
I kind of like just set that aside, and I'm just like, if that becomes a concern, I'll probably come back to it.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah. Well, one thing is always, like, like the meta level stuff is you can do a bit more organization. Right, so there's different colors you can use. You can use like little symbols. You can draw on this to say, hey, come back to this later on, etc. So there's some things you can do to kind of remind yourself. But in this case,
Okay.
you probably just lucked out a bit. It didn't really matter. But some interviewers, when they ask questions like this, they already know in their head what is the bottleneck, and they want to see if you know it as well. So then the follow will be, okay, let's increase the number of users. What's going to break first, right? So that's
Right.
kind of number one follow up question. And when you practice these, if you ever do, that should be the question you ask yourself: is, let's scale this up. What is going to break? Right. So
Mhm.
that's the that's the thing you can very easily test yourself on.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, and the last thing I'll comment on today is about the database design. So we didn't do actual tables and whatnot, but I just want to comment on this, a couple things. A couple things. First of all is the detail in the data model that you wrote is totally fine. But one thing you should
Okay.
always have, especially when you're doing something like a relational database, is on for every table you should always indicate what the primary key should be, and you should always indicate what indexes you will have. So, or like what partition, right? Partition indexes. And the reason that's
Got it.
important
Okay.
for this case, a couple things. I mean, so you indicate the foreign keys. I mean, it's pretty obvious that you have a unique key here, unique key here, unique key here, right? So we don't need to cover the PKs. The primary keys are fine, right? But the
Yeah.
reason the indexes are important is two reasons. The first of all is you didn't actually say that you were gonna partition on the problem, right? Now in this case, it's pretty obvious that you will, but you didn't say that, right? The
Right.
second
Okay.
thing is that the partition and the index actually matters, and the reason it matters is because when you define our partition, or you define an index, depending on what language you're using. I'll just say index because that's what SQL Server is. Um,
Yeah.
you need to define what the structure of the index is, and a
Mhm.
structure can also include a sorted index. So the right way to have the quote unquote right way to have defined a problem, a problem's index, is to have a problem index, right? So your column is going to be your index name is to be is your index to be on problem, but you'll have a sort object, a sort column on the runtime, and you would
Okay.
also have, and we didn't go into this, but it didn't matter, but you would have an index for both the runtime and the space complexity. It would save you time that way.
Got it.
But so let's just say runtime, right? So and the reason this is important is because when and initially, let's say you have zero customer, whatever, or very few customers, is that you can backfill this table very quickly. So you'll
Mhm.
incur one in login sort operation when you generate the index. That is true. However, in the future, when you insert, so you generate this index exists, right? Now if you have an insert operation, what is my key doing? Where you have insert operation, it's only a login insertion,
Right.
and that is
Oh yeah.
that is
How did I completely forget that you can just like, like, I think this is because like I've spent so long in like an algorithms
yeah.
course, like the last semester, but like I completely forgot that you could just order by a thing in a database.
Yeah, well,
Like
it's
that's just the thing you can do.
yeah, but keep in mind very unique because it's like order by is a SQL operation, but if you use order
Right.
by on a non-sorted column or a non-sorted table, or use it on a table with a non-sorted column as the sort by key, order by key, that is still a sort. That is still an login under the hood because it doesn't know the
Okay,
ordering, so
right.
that would still be in login. However, if you use order by in a sorted index on the index that it's on the column that it's sorted on, in this case complexity, or on runtime, sorry, then it's actually well, it's O1 because it's already sorted. So it
Okay.
incurs no additional sort cost. Now, why is that important? That's important because one thing you didn't explicitly, like you actually said we didn't actually solve, is that you need to know the ranking of the current user. And so
Mm,
if you want to get the rank of the current user, that would be O of n without a sort key. Right, that'd be O of n because you have to
hmm
scan the entire table to find your user. Or right,
mm.
and that's the best case. In reality, it would actually be in login because you would need to know the absolute rank, like the global absolute rank of the user among all submissions. So that would be in
Right.
login per problem, right?
Okay, and that's not
So
great.
that's why you would need a sort key in this one because then the entire table is always sorted and a rank of index will always be it would be in theory login time because to find a item in a sorted list that's login, but in reality that would be O1 because SQL will maintain a column order for sorted indexes. So for that kind of
Gotcha.
question, login or O1 would be both acceptable answers. In reality, keep in mind in real life, login is the same as O1. It's just the same, like actual milliseconds, because the
Yeah,
up
it's like
head
functionally.
cost, the
Yeah.
cost to make a transaction in a database, so far outscales the number of columns you have in a million, 10 million, 100 million SQL. It's just not even close. So
Got it.
keep in mind that the sort index here was the intended answer for solving the leaderboard problem.
Okay. Cool. I will definitely keep that in my back pocket for the future. That is
Yeah,
very handy to know.
yeah. Okay, that's all the notes I had.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Yeah. Yeah. Leo definitely will kind of keep that in the back pocket. It sounds like most of the issues here were either A, forgetting things exist like in the realm of
Yeah,
containerization,
yeah.
or B, kind of more on the technical front, like not knowing about the least frequently used cache strategy or the sort index on the database, for instance.
Yeah, I think it's some things you could definitely improve on with better organization. Some things you just didn't know of or hadn't thought of at the time, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, different things. Like these are pretty common things that come up. So, with practice, it comes more easily.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for doing this, Leo.
No worries.
Really appreciate you hosting these. You're doing a wonderful job with these, man.
Thank you very much. Take care.
You as well.
Okay, that is the mock interview. Now I will do resume reviews. So let me get my form. Here it is. Boom. Is this my form? Yes, this is my form. Okay. Um, view. Unpin that. Go to Tech Career North. Announcements. Pin. Resume reviews. Reviews. Us or events. And then Cherokee. All right. Let's go. Let me get my window. Here it is. Okay, what are we doing today? Let me see. TC and resume review spreadsheet. Here we go. Okay. What's the date today? Today is 12/22. Okay, we had. Oh wait, we had this guy. Not redacted. I didn't redact. Very first submission already not redacted. Guys, what are we doing? What are we doing? Chilled beer. I like some chilled. Actually, I don't like beer that much, but hey, how's it going? What's up? I haven't seen you before in the chat. Welcome to the stream. Okay, this one is redacted. Is it? Let me check. This one is. Okay, let's start with this one then. Let's go to the bottom right today. Why not? Boom. Why is this not loading? What the heck? There we go. There we go. No, I've been here. LOL. I don't recognize you. Maybe you have. I don't remember too many people here because most people come here just once and they don't stay around. Let's take a look. Okay, so this person's comment was, I'm a second-year comp sci U of A targeting software internships jobs in future. Not too much detail, but I think I've seen this one before. Let's pick a new color today. Let's go like purple. Yeah. Okay, so not much data to go off of, to be honest, in these kind of descriptions, but oh, I know, I've seen this one. I remember this one. Okay, look. Relevant courses, you gotta list, if you're gonna put relevant courses, don't put course codes, right? Literally no one outside of U of A knows what these course codes are. So if you're gonna put course codes, if you're gonna put courses, put the name of the course. Now, if you're in second year, which you are, I don't think any of these courses will be relevant, to be completely honest. So unless it's like a unique course, I would not put it in because you have projects and other stuff already. Okay, so this is recent. This is reverse order. Okay, that's fine. So ML web development, that's fine. Oh, okay, that's better. This is undergraduate. Oh, this is undergraduate stuff. Okay. Medix AI. What is this? Undergraduate society. So one thing I will say is that I'm not sure exactly what the what's going on here, but there's no outcome. There's no result. This is like what you've done, but there's no outcome. So I would say, I would say you should be putting in some numbers here, especially if it's, risk analysis, stuff like that. Safety? Yeah, safety, I would say some numbers would be good. Otherwise, like, these two are kind of the same thing where you have what you've done, but you have no result. So it's very hard to quantify the impact here. I think this is the most glaring weakness here. See, this one has some numbers here. Otherwise it's gonna be lacking. I would also say you should put the experience above the projects and put it in reverse chronological order. Generally the preferred way to do things. Okay, let's take a look. Okay, this guy's submission looks pretty good. Is it redacted? Yes, looks pretty good. Nice. When I look at resumes these days, I have to like really make sure they are, because some people redact their name and it's good, but then they have like their GitHub link here, or they have like a professor or something there, and then I have to just be careful about that. Okay, so this person's note is SW new grad role submitted last week, modified based on feedback, extending co-op with sub-bullet points, reviewed others. Is this too condensed? Thanks. Okay, extending co-op bullet points, sub-points. This one, right? Okay, let's have, so this is still sweet new grad roles. When you're graduating students, so like next semester. Okay. Pacing looks good. Let's have a look real quick. Okay. Overall claim or functionality multi-student index. That makes sense. Heap space, memory usage, pagination limit. That makes sense. Rollback mechanism, new ID. Oh, what is this? Deployment failure rate by 40%. Okay. Retrieve deployment ID, identify blah 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 blah. Just kind of cron schedule scan, remove stale deployments, reducing load to trigger rollback. Okay, that makes sense. Reducing deployment failure, and this also helps. Okay, yeah, it's related. It's related. That's fine. Yeah. Logging. Yeah, this is fine. This is better now. Also, I will say that this is a slight news that you have a capital F here and not a capital F there. No, like this is much better organization. Now there's like a theme. Like there's a couple of themes here, and you have some supporting points. That makes it a lot easier to read. So I see that's better. Okay, music app. Oh, I think I saw this one already, right? Yeah. Blah blah. Engagement. That's fine. Game. Sound effects. Blah blah. Enemies. Generator-driven time responding for up to 50 entities. And collectibles. I read that as something else. Okay. Okay, mesh collision. Okay, that's fine. Is this in pure C++, by the way? That's in pure C++. I think that's actually quite impressive. That's quite impressive. I'd say this is quite good. But I think, to be honest, I don't think most recruiters will pick up on the fact that that's impressive. It's pure C++. Anyways, extracurricular MLA chat, don't care about that. Okay, this is, you could definitely put this on a separate line. Like, you could definitely 4 3 lines here. Yeah, put on a separate line. The thing with the vertical separators is I honestly, I used to do that too, the vertical separators. You're not saving room. Like, you have room for that. Like just put it down there. But I think this is much better. The first point, at least. Okay. So, start. Okay, so that was just this guy. Let's have a look at this. Blah, 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 blah. GitHub's note looks good. Okay, let's have a look. Second year suite, Ottawa, full stack backend, first internship. The internship at resume is research assistant position at a university in collaboration with local hospital, looking for general feedback as well as feedback on my projects for full stack backend roles. Okay. What year are you in? Your second year? Yeah, okay. Okay, so this is Ottawa. Okay, cool. I don't get Ottawas that often. Okay, let's take a look. Coursework. What are we doing? We're doing what? We're doing full stack backend. Okay, full stack backend. You can get rid of these two for sure. Computer architecture, I think is okay. Discrete structures, this is not useful in full stack backend. I'd say at least get rid of that and go from there. I would also get rid of probably data management. Data management's not really a like an industry term. If you're talking about databases, anything advanced about database, you can put that in. Otherwise, I'd say, generally speaking, that's not gonna, like, this is just taking a room, and you don't have extra room, right? So something to consider. Internship on a resume is a research assistant position collaboration. Okay, got it. Okay, so let's take a look then. So this is like ongoing. This is like recent, very recent. This is also present. Final login framework. Okay. This is also quite a few months, right? So this is like half a year, 6-7 months already. So also something to keep in mind. ETL pipeline, SQL pandas. Let's keep our metrics. Generate automated reports. Okay, that makes sense. Create a Python tool for parsing, comparing medical software, leveraging NumPy to analyze 3 images volume. For parsing and comparing medical software images, leveraging NumPy to analyze 3 image volumes and perform volumetric calculations, chi-square, MDS. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I think this is about what you would do. Key performance metrics, processing time, computation. Okay. From CSV data sets and generating automated reports. From CSV, so the connection here I'm reading is that these data sets are, it's different than these CSV files, right? Like this is its own point. One thing I'm looking at here is that I don't know if this part's relevant, right? Extracting key performance metrics. You can just get rid of that. I don't think the CSV part here matters. And generating automated reports, I would put in a little thing here saying that what are these reports feeding into, right? Like are these feeding like upper management into data science streams or whatever? I would say like tell us what the customer here is. Otherwise, I think that's fine. Rocketry, this is fine. Okay. Projects. Leadership involvement. Okay, that's all fine. This is a fun way to talk about it. Okay, projects wise, so we're doing full stack, right? So this is not full stack. This is like pandas, not pandas, like some data science mostly. Okay, so this if you want to be full stack slash backend, this is gonna be like the main carrying capacity, right? In terms of showing skill in that regard. So let's see what's in here. So this is a Flask full. Okay, so this is full stack. Full stack web app transfer playlist, YouTube, Spotify, React, blah blah blah. Good first point. OAuth is good. Flask REST API, that's fine. It's kind of like this point is a bit redundant because this is kind of the same thing. Like this is just kind of the same point as your first one. Containerized, yeah, deployed. This is a good point. Third point here is weak. Rest of the points are good. Budgetify, Java, full stack web app. Tracking personal finance, provide insight, use spending habits, Java, Spring Boot, REST API, CRUD operations, Postgres, that's good, yeah. Front end, general hardcore coverage of Vita, I don't know what that is, but okay. That's fine. This one feels about the same as this in terms of like complexity and level. I would say, one thing you didn't hear that's good is you talked about the database strategy in more detail. You should lean into that. Right, so I would say for Budgetify, put in a data point about database performance because you said you optimize it how, right? So put in a point about that. So this is how they can make this project stand out a bit more. This one wise, I think this is fine as is. Deployment, I would say this one you can probably talk a little bit more about the deployment. I mean, I know there's not, if you're just using out of the box EC2 Docker, there's not much to talk about. I would say, for example, if you have a like deployment pipeline or something, that could be cool to talk about. Otherwise, this is about as good as you can make it. Okay, XD courses. This is a hackathon. What is this? Competition. Oh, this is a hack. Okay, I see. Okay. Yeah, it's a hackathon project. That's what it is. Some visualization stuff. That could be cool. I'd say, put a YouTube video here. That would win you some points with certain people. Otherwise some small stuff here. It's looking okay. It's looking pretty good. I would say again, right? So full stack wise, how do we save room? There's different storing techniques. I don't really know what this is. This sounds like some user interface. I would get rid of that. So I would say, for example, if you want to use SDL2, if that's really relevant in that field, I don't know. I don't think it is. You can say Visual in C++ with SDL2, right? So put it in the first point, get rid of this thing. Yeah, that's kind of how I would save a bit of space there. Otherwise, you can consider getting rid of some things over here. For example, if you already have this project, I would say this, it doesn't really matter. These two both actually don't really matter. Just something to think about because there's a lot of redundant information if you talk about both courses and have the same thing in the projects. Okay, next. Hello, do you mind doing a resume review or how to format good cybersecurity resume with certificate in it too? You can send it over for me to look at. I'm not a cybersecurity expert. I can't really talk about that, but I can still look at it from like a software capacity. And I can still look at it just objectively in terms of do the points make sense? But I wouldn't have any like hiring tips or anything like that for cybersecurity. Let's take a look at this one. This guy's good. Whoops. Okay. All right. So this guy's comment is applying 2025 new grad jobs, SD resume, like a feedback if I can use it to apply to data science positions. Okay. Okay. BSc minor stats, GPA, awards. Dorothy Rosen. Okay. Work experience. This is real recent, year ago, 2 years ago. This is present. Oh, TA. Okay. Projects and products here. Cognito. Okay. All right. So SD new grad. All right. Enabling LMs to ask clarification questions. What? Enabling? This is past tense. It should be past tense. This is done. right? This is over. Next one, okay, sure. Framework to improve decision. This sounds like this should be the first point, no? Okay. Connecting quantitative quality analysis of dialogue acts to proactively support user queries. Qualitative of dialogue acts to proactively support user queries. This point feels it's unjustified. I don't know what the impact of this is supposed to be. Why are user queries important in this context? I would say maybe if I knew exactly, give a bit more context about what the lab is trying to accomplish, high level, that might justify this a bit. But this point feels a bit weak, and this point should be first. Keycloak, C#, user services, JWT. Okay, this is a bit weak as a first point though. This is like just one task. Migrated 20 plus REST APIs, database interaction, unit test, closure.net. Database interactions, unit test. Okay. Convert 100 plus test suites and then RTL and authorize new tests. Is this 100 including the new tests, or is it just the old tests? Otherwise, this number feels a bit weird. I would just combine the two numbers into one. So converted and created 100 plus test suites and enzyme from enzyme to React. Implemented user-friendly software installer in just like some installing software. Installation time. Implemented user-friendly software installer to reduce. Okay, it feels a bit weird to quantify user-friendliness by software install time. I don't know if that's like a common complaint you guys hear, but I mean that I can justify that in my head, so that's fine. Address build failures, customer as by employing isolated test strategies in Jenkins database. Address build failures by employing isolated testing strategies in Jenkins and AWS. I don't know how having testing strategies will address build failures. Do you mean instead of address, you mean like investigate? Question mark? Like if this is investigation, I can believe that. If this is addressing it, but just this isn't like having testing doesn't solve the problem. You still have to solve it, right? So I think that the verb there is wrong. From the developer, WCAG 2 accessibility standard. Yep. Time zone support moment.js. My condolences. Ooh, this is good. Right? Just talk about component. Like this is front end, obviously, right? Front end is all about name dropping the technologies. So I think this is totally fine. For front end work, that's about as good as you can get, right? 4 months is that? 3 months, right? TA work doesn't really matter. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so this is project. So let's say, so again, right? So we're coming here. We got some full stack stuff. We're not seeing very much. We saw a back end. We saw a front end. We're still trying to see one that combines both, right? So that's kind of what we're looking at here. Okay, so projects, cross-single voice cloning, enabled, TDS models to enabled. So this you could enabled how, right? So you enable. So this is a product, and then how do you do that, right? Okay, implement voice transform module proposed with Google ML TDS implemented. Okay, so this is how it did it. Then this should be 1 point. Like this should be by implementing DDD by this. Achieve 50% enable embedding similarity, and I don't know what that is. They're crossing all the talks. Okay, so this is just some like this is like some like voice stuff. Okay, like signal processing. Okay, that's not full stack though. So serverless chat room. Build a real-time chat room using WebSockets, Lambda.md, blah blah. Authentication. Okay, look at this like a chat room. Okay. Space Lab System contributed to development of CubeSat satellite design competition. Contributed to development of CubeSat. Configure the Linux drivers on system on module to enable connection to component onboard computer. Okay, so if you're saying I did this by doing this, then you should just get rid of the first point entirely. Billy Blue Nose, Battle Atlantic, 1 second prize Atlantic game jam, coordinating an action web game, blah blah. Okay, so this is front end. We have no full stack here, so this is fine, but keep in mind that this is mostly backend or front end, right? This is backend or front end, and I see an ML here, obviously. I see an ML here. This I don't think this is ML. I don't know what this is, but this could be like this is like in that kind of data analysis realm. The other piece of question you had was, can I use it to apply to data science positions? You can, but a couple things are majorly lacking. The first thing is you have no ETL pipeline, right? You have no ETL. This is not ETL. Do you have ETL here? No. So no ETL pipeline. That's missing. You can need one of those. Otherwise, I would say this is more like a front end slash back end resume. Like this is what this resume is currently positioned to be. So I would say if you're going for data science, you gotta still polish it up for some other stuff. Hopefully that helped. Okay, how's this guy looking? This guy's looking fine. I just posted a resume. That's cool. As long as you submit it before 2, I will review it. This is like realizing I could theoretically do security resume reviews on a lot. Yeah, you definitely could. Anyone's able to do them, as long as you can provide a bit of context. ETL, extract, transform, load. That's a data. It's a pretty common paradigm for ingesting data from data sources, converting that data into a format that you can use, you and your data scientists can use, and then using it, and then piping it into, like, for example, Datadog or Splunk or whatever other visualization, Tableau even, for now further analysis. Okay, this guy's comment is what? Oh, okay, here. First year computer science student trying to get a summer 25 internship. Software data analyst related roles. Not much experience, trying to gain as much as I can via clubs, extracurriculars, PSA. Oh, I lost it. Okay, PSA, full stack app, section Q corner. It's still in progress. I'm still working to make points on it. More specifically on the database side, love to have a look at it. Okay, great. Yeah, this is the level of detail I want in the comments, by the way. So this person said their goal, they said they're working on, they said they specifically want to review on that part. Okay, great. All right, so first year, 2025 summer. Okay, so 2025 summer is the most competitive season. Okay, so summer is when the US guys are competing for position. So, if you're in first year, just be aware, set your expectations on that one. Okay. All right, so DevOps, intern, Q corner, some stuff here. Developers tools. Yeah, I think here's are good. Okay. What the hell is this? Never heard of that. Okay, so DevOps intern Queens, website reviewing performance website DigitalOcean using Git to okay. So one thing here is that if you're migrating to something, if you're going to talk about website reliability, I would recommend you say from X to DigitalOcean, right? For example, if this is from on-premise to DigitalOcean, yeah, that makes sense. If you increase website reliability by migrating from AWS to DigitalOcean, that makes less sense. So just bit of it's a relative measure, right? It's a relative measure, so it's good to provide that previous point of reference. DNS measurement, that's fine. Okay. AI/ML, this is also present, right? Okay, so minimizing high operational costs in hospitals through predictive energy management, developing reinforcement learning model uses Q-learning, deep Q networks to analyze energy data across variables like time, temperature, occupancy levels. Okay, so minimizing high operational costs. Okay. I'm a bit caught up on this word. I feel like this should be either minimizing operational costs, which makes sense, or decreasing high operational costs. Minimizing high operational costs is fine, but it just feels a bit weird. Anyways, yeah, this is fine. This makes sense. Good context. Developing a reinforcement learning model. Okay. Optimized solar and wind power generation data sets by resolving missing values. Wait, what? Solar and wind power generation data sets by resolving missing values and moving. Okay. Oh, so these two are not related, I'm guessing, right? I don't. Okay. I get it now. I was like, why does a hospital have its own solar and wind power generation? No, this is fine. Okay. Q corner, this is present. This we're talking about React, blah blah. Okay, online web app marketplace first. Dynamic front increased. Promotes an increased volume of safe and convenient online transactions. Okay. It feels a bit like an elevator pitch, but let's see what you got. So secure transactions processing. Your profiles when don't choose someone. Okay. Leveraging JWT to increase user trust and ensure data integrity. Okay, so this is good. right? This makes sense. I don't think users know what JWT is, and I don't think they care, right? So this feels a bit misplaced. Data integrity, I don't think JWT is used for data integrity either. For data integrity, we're looking more at your database strategy. Right, database strategy, perhaps you can talk about your availability here. That's more about data integrity. JWT is just a way to encode data, right? And it's a web standard, and it's good. You should use it. I'm not saying you shouldn't use it, but that's not a justification that I would use personally. Resulting in a minimized risk of unsafe transactions. This feels a bit like marketing speak, but yeah, this is fine. I'll let it slide. But these 2 points here, I think are a bit misplaced. Design implemented PostgreSQL database, support the web application's user profiles, transaction data. Okay, so are we storing user profiles? So we're storing user profiles in a Postgres database, right? If you're talking about security, the number one thing people are going to ask you is how are you handling these logins, these passwords, right? Like, why are we not using a third party like OAuth for this kind of stuff, right? So if you're going to focus so much on the safety and the safety aspect of this, you got to be prepared to kind of answer that kind of question, right? Because as a first year, I'm gonna tell you straight. Okay, as a first year, you're gonna have people. It's gonna be difficult convincing people that you've got security down better than OAuth 2. Okay, I'm gonna say that. But I think the project is fine. I just wouldn't lean into the security aspect. I will lean in more into the features. I will lean more into, what you've done for the community. Like that. That's what I would say. Like, not the security, right? So it's a good project. I would just reframe it. That's all. Magic Ring Quest, Zelda RPG game. This is fine. This is fine. So again, right? I would say something like this doesn't really contribute to resumes, to be honest, unless it's something that's like really long running that you have like a history or some community with. This kind of stuff, I would cut down to 1 point. I don't know which of these points. You can pick one. Just cut out at 1 point, and save a point for this. Because if you're going for software, this is your your full stack. This is going to be your full stack app, right? Make a nice SQL database. Make something that's nice to go with it. This is going to be the main kind of situation going on for selling your resume, right? Data analyst roles. There's no data analysis here from what I can tell. This is something which you might, if you did do data analysis, then I would talk about that a bit more, because from my reading, this is developing a model which has some data in it, right? But this is developing the model. This is not data analysis that came out of it. This one's cleaning data. So this is your only data analyst, really like adjacent position, right? So that's going to be a hard sell as well. This one is quite good though. Like in terms of DevOps, I think there's actually some pretty good stuff here. But that's not your question. So yeah, I'd say number one thing is to focus on getting this project up and running, make a nice backend for it, and sell that one as hard as you can. We have a nice little Rickroll here. By the way, I can see previews of the resume, so Rickrolls don't work on me. Okay, this guy, is that redacted? That is. Okay, that's fine then. Yeah, okay. Any GitHubs, the indenting? Okay, what? Okay, that's fine. Looks fine. Okay, this guy's comment. I'm trying to aim for full stack software and systems programming roles. Okay, I don't hear systems very often, but okay, let's see how it is. Is PDF supported to set? No, I do not set PDFs because I actually download the files and I will not download a PDF from a random stranger. I think the security folks in the chat will know about that one. All right, so let's take a look. Okay, so education, availability, just left justify this, please. C++, that's different languages. Visual Studio, VS Code and Visual Studio in the same thing. That's kind of weird. That's fine though. Libraries. Are we going for data science? What are we doing? We're going to full stack software and systems programming roles. This is just not relevant for either of those options. Just FYI, right? Relevant coursework. Ooh, triple column. I would say, if you're gonna put coursework, list them out just all commas. Yeah, this is okay. I had this the street structure like don't say 1 and 2 like again right this is not a standardized course unlike calc right calculus is standardized this stuff is not so if you're dying to put this on just say discrete like just say discrete structures and get rid of the suffix. What year are you in? Okay, so you're like you're in like third year. You're kind of going up already. If you're in third year, what's your experience? You have okay, no experience. We're going for project still. Okay, then I'll need to comment on the coursework after like the projects. Google stuff. Google Qt Git. Okay, this is okay. A lot of stuff here. Let's actually have a look. So third year standing CGPA. Oh, it's out of 12. That's the first time I actually didn't know that Carleton does out of 12. Holy shit! Everyone does their own thing, doesn't it? Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Instead of putting this here, I would just say 2027 here. Or I'll put it there. Okay. Availability. I would say this is, since you have room, you can put it in. But this is the first thing you should get rid of once you run out of space. Okay. Okay. Let's look at the projects. Code interpreter. C++. Blah blah blah. And this is very new. This is like very new. Okay. Scanning system. Why is scanning capital? Tokenization to scan, identify, scan and classify input symbols, literals, identifier, answering. Interpreter. This is an interpreter. Okay, I see. I mean, I can't say much about it. I guess it's on the right track. You're going for full stack, yeah? What are you going for again? You're going full stack in systems. Code interpreter doesn't really fit into either one of those, right? The best you can do with the code interpreter is, I'd say there's two things to do with it, right? The first thing to do with it is you can make it highly performant and use and demonstrate like operating system skills, demonstrate hardware skills by showing that you can make it high performant. That's hard, right? That's hard, but that would be impressive. The other thing you can do with it, I guess, is sell your C++ programming skill with it. Like talk about the kind of patterns you've used, talk about the various things that you've done to make it like a good piece of software independent of what it can actually do. But I would say if it's not, I mean, and this might be a school product. I don't know if it's just, this sounds like a system language course. You don't have it here. But if this is like a system like language course at school, then I'd say leave it off. It's not going to do much for full stack or systems. Okay, this is recent. These are all recent. Oh, okay. Okay, cool. I don't know what that is. Qt based interface rotate device. Seems like engaging user experience. Okay. Intuitive. Sure. Yeah. Again, right. So for projects, probably just gonna let this slide, but know that everyone understands that you have no way to quantify this. Simulate device battery behaviors, Bluetooth device. Okay, sure. Usability transability mag. This is good. This should be second. iTunes 5. Okay. JavaScript and TypeScript in the same project. That's kind of weird. Develop full stack website with Angular in the front end, back end, the database. And a back end of the database. To store user. What? Develop the full stack website with Angular in the front end. You can just say Angular. You can't use it in the back end. Thank God. And a back end with a database to store user and song information, and a JavaScript as a server with the front end. Okay, look, dude, what's going on here? Come on. There should be something like develop full stack website to enable users to I don't know what this is. I don't even know what this is, to be honest. To enable users to download music from iTunes or whatever it is, right? And then you can talk about the technical merits, or you can combine them into the first point. But if this is your first point, I say keep it simple. Just talk about what the user can do, or the merits of the product. And also don't say front end, back end. Like just say Node, TypeScript, Angular, right? Like Node is a back end technology. Angular is a front end technology. It's like that part's implied already. Resulting in a much managed project. I don't know what much managed means. You should probably not use that term. Took advantage of SQL's robust security features like authentication, access control, and encryption, which are crucial for protecting sensitive user data. Uh, what? So we have okay. So we have. Where's the back end with the database? Okay, this is the database you're talking. Okay. To store user and song information and the Java. So here's the thing, right? It's not clear what the user information is. Like, does a user log in to your service, or does a user see? Like, I don't really know what this is, right? So that's kind of the issue here. Um, the problem with this point I'm getting at is that it's saying a lot of stuff about nothing, right? Like the whole point is basically use SQL's security features, right? And this is fine to say, but the stuff after this just doesn't matter at all because, like, this is you describing the security features. Like we don't need you to tell us what SQL can do. We know, right? Like we just want to know if you had used it or not. So this is kind of the entire extent of this point. The rest of it is kind of fluff. See if you can find a way to combine it in, or just leave it out. Like just put SQL here, and leave it out. Develop a website to cater to the website interests of songs on internet, fostering an vibrant online songs community that actively stores songs and playlists, create songs. What? Deploy a website. Deploy a website. I would put it. So deploy a website to where? To AWS, to DigitalOcean, to cater to widespread interest in songs on the internet. Yeah, I guess that's true. I guess music is popular. I don't know. I don't think you need to say that, but that's fine. Fostering a vibrant online songs community. So that's when you can quantify how many users, daily active users, how many playlists do you have, etc. So you can quantify that, right? This is your project. That actively stores songs and playlists. Oh, so you should definitely say how many songs and playlists, right? Create songs, etc. Okay, so this part I missed. So you can create songs on your platform. So this is something which you should definitely go into a bit more. What does this mean? Does this mean that they upload their own song? Does this mean that they, mix and mash songs together? This thing here I think is very very interesting. You could definitely elaborate on that. And the etc. Look, you have so much room here. Just put it in. Put it in. Don't only use it etc. when you're out of room, right? If you have things to say and you have room, you should definitely just say it. User authentication, enabling account creation. Okay, so user authentication, these can go together. REST APIs fetch sounds. So you already said REST API, right? So you already said REST API here. I'd say you can definitely have a separate point if it's interesting. Otherwise, saying REST API is fine. Chatting app, JavaScript, HTML. What are you going for again? You're going for full stack systems programming. Okay, so full stack systems programming. WebSockets, so allow concurrent users to chat with each other smoothly. Stored usernames, socket IDs, hash map server, security privacy users. This point feels a bit weak, and you could probably quantify smoothly by talking about the latency. Yeah, I'd say you could quantify that, right? Easy way to quantify that, by the way, again, is to talk about basically latency added by your service. So if you just have like a pure peer-to-peer connection between users, a local host, for example, that's just a base latency. And then if you add in your service into the mix, how much additional latency is there compared to the just local host to local host. So you can definitely quantify that a little bit better. And after seeing this, so once you flesh out this project a bit more, get rid of that. This one you can keep on, to be honest. This you get rid of. What did you use C++? Okay, use C++ over here. This is JavaScript, TypeScript. Okay, that's not object-oriented. Okay. This one I would personally take up, but you can keep on. These two you can get rid of. These two, wait, you have both. Okay, pick. I mean, pick one of these two. Get rid of those two. It's in progress project. Yeah, definitely. It's in progress, and you should one thing I will say again for in progress project is that you can list out points use present tense. Right? Like use present tense, say what you're currently working on, and then it gives people a bit more context on what's going on, like what your goals are for the project. Otherwise, what's going on right now is it's not clear what the next steps are. How long is the queue? The queue is currently, where's my tab? Here it is. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It is 7 long. So that's about as, it's 7 long. Like, I generally review our resumes that come in before the 2 p.m. deadline, but after 2 p.m. I do go pretty fast. So I use my quote unquote real like recruiter eyes, where I still getting feedback on the resume. Well, I still get feedback on the resume, but instead of correcting people, I just say this is what I would think if I were a recruiter in my 5-second review. Okay, anyways, next guy. That was this guy. Yeah, that was this guy. What the hell is this? A dark theme resume? But it's redacted, so I'll review it. Okay. I will also say that I hope your real resume is not a dark theme one, but I will review it. Education, UT 25, you paid 6, Dean Scholar, blah blah. Okay, that's fine. Skills, Haskell. Oh, Haskell user. Shell script, like Bash. Tools, LLVM. Where's the C++? There it is. Okay, nice. Scrum Agile. Okay, this because it's only one line. I'll let it live. Database system. Oh, this is 2 lines. Okay, let me see your experience then. This is earlier this year. This is ongoing. Okay. Let's have a look at your comment. Trying to get a full new grad job. Everything's fine. Just don't want to be unemployed. Everything's fine. I'm assuming you mean any sort of job is fine. Okay. 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 I really hope this is light theme. Okay, like just when you submit it to real people, make sure it's a regular light theme resume. Okay. Work closely with the cloud scheduling engine team, development and testing of the scheduling data structure algorithm. Okay, so this tells you like high level what you've done, but like what did you actually do? Like did you write tests? Did you analyze the results? Like, could have built the model for the scaling engine to simulate different policies for incorporating AI for IaaS. So this is very cloud focused. Okay. This point lacks detail. Need more detail there. Co-developed a model for the scaling engine to simulate different policies for incorporating AI. This is fine. This is fine. Work with the hyperscale data management team, investigating a very large data center cloud analytics solution. Data management team investigating very large data center cloud solutions. Okay. 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 Investigated and tested the effect of network technologies on shuffling, integrating technologies such as RDMA, UX as a Spark. Okay. So, right, again, this is one of those things where, there's no results, there's no outcome. Now, I understand for research you can't always say all the numbers, but I would say, for example, one thing here is, we're saying very large data center, right? Like, very large is relative. And you got to keep in mind it's relative because in Toronto, AWS is in Toronto, right? If this lands on, for example, a table at AWS, and that's very large. So this guy's at U of T, he's doing first-party research, and he's saying it's very large. What does he actually mean, or she? I don't know, right? So keep in mind, there's gonna be like levels, or there's different perspectives here. So the way I would quantify this is I would say, very large data center cloud solutions. I would say petabyte levels, right? How petabyte, petabyte's a pretty common, piece of measurement for this kind of stuff. So that's kind of where I would frame it. But just keep in mind, right? Very large is it's unnecessarily, it's very unnecessarily ambiguous. But yeah, it is what it is. I'm just saying, I'm calling this out that people will ask. It's not like a downside. People will be curious, but they'll ask you, oh, how large is very large? Because I will say, on my team at AWS, very large was very different. Anyways, this one is fine. I think this one makes sense. I would say personally, like investigated and tested the effects of something. If you can't talk about like the actual result of it, I would at least give, instead of like saying, oh, and we measured this increased performance at 30%. If you can't say that, I would at least say like what the next steps were that were led to because of your research. So I would say, even if you can't say the numbers, even if you can't quantify it, you can still qualify it by saying, and this led to these decisions, right? Yeah. Otherwise, it's a bit hard to see what you've done. Okay, products. Implement design patterns, improve architecture, scope product, resulting in certain runtime. Okay, sure. Implemented run C++. Okay. Implement optimize C++. This is different projects. Okay. Okay. Um, Implemented optimized SQL-based compiler for sample C language LVM, achieving client standard optimized runtime. Okay. That sounds quite good. This one is C++ based compiler. Sample C language. Okay, sure. Okay. Improve the University of Toronto's engineering faculty course search website with backend duties. Implemented a course graph for all progressive using graph algorithms. Okay, this is good. Pintos. This feels okay. Read us like distributed database part distribution. Okay. Some stuff here actually looks quite good. I would say I don't know how much detail you have about each of these things, but I would go as far as to say that you should probably. So this is obviously a very backend heavy, very systems heavy resume, and that's fine. Um, this is I would say that's kind of your expectation here. Now there aren't nearly as many system slash backend roles as there are full stack slash front end. So if your goal, as you said in your message, is about employment, anything is fine. Quote. Is that was you, right? Let me just double check. Yes, that was you. Then I would strongly recommend you take up a full stack project and highlight it as such. But what you have here for this resume is fine. Like the content is all fine. The organization here is a bit wonky. I'm not the hugest fan of this. I prefer more strict organization, but this is not bad. It's just that, like it leaves a lot more up for interpretation. But again, like there's absolutely no full stack here. You have this. Wait, was it mentioned here? No, but like that like I'd say in terms of employment, that's sort of like the that would be the limiting factor in my eyes. Hopefully that helps. But to be clear, I think a lot of stuff here is actually quite impressive. It's just that like to be employable in this field isn't impressive enough. That's what we're actually talking about here, right? Like that's the threshold. It's not as impressive. Is it impressive enough? Okay, this person. Is this person's real name? I gotta check. Because if it is, I can't review it. LinkedIn. Okay. Ooh, it is, unfortunately. Okay, I can't review this one. Person who put their name on the resume, you know who you are. I can't review it. I swear, like, is my form not clear? I don't know how to. I should have 6 questions that are all consecutively. Yes, I have redacted my resume. No, I'm sick of it. I just want to review it. Okay, this one looks fine. This one looks good. Okay, let's have a look at this one. This is not fully redacted, honestly, but I trust that you won't copyright strike me. Okay. Give you an example. A redacted resume is just one which cannot be used to identify you, right? So this one, you can argue that you might be able to identify this person through these, right? But like, I can't show it because like that one's obviously not redacted, but like this is fine, right? Like you have a name that's obviously fake. You have fake emails, fake number, fake GitHub. This is all good, right? If you have like a fake name but a real LinkedIn, like that's not gonna work, right? This is just to cover my ass because I don't get striked again. Okay, this guy's comment is wait, is this you? Yes. I got in as a software developer, but I'm interested in ML job specific data scientist roles. Please read my resume. Let me know what needs to be done, please. Okay. MCS Dalhousie. Okay, you actually graduated. What is this? This is another master's. Okay. Programming skill, blah blah, lowercase s. A lot of data science here. Like, yeah, you're definitely got a lot of data science. I don't know what the hell that is, but I'm not a data scientist, so I won't comment on that. Programming. Okay, yeah. Transformers is okay. That's a concept, I guess. Okay, sure. Research intern. Yeah, okay, that's fine. CNN model performance for analyze evaluate CNN performance model for every sector. Okay, again, right? If you have an analysis and evaluation, then you should say what happened next. What's your proposal? Enhanced recruitment efficiency of 73%. That's a lot of percentages. But I don't have a way to comment on that, so that's fine. Unix based volume estimation. Okay. What? Developed a volume estimation system. Okay, so this is like a services contracting industry. Okay. That makes sense. Human post estimation. Okay, that's fine. Okay. Okay, I will say this one is a bit weak because I don't know what Open Vino is, and I don't know how more accurately detecting human poses helps your outages, right? So I don't understand that connection, but I can believe that this might be part of some warehouse or something that you're done. But just be aware that this point does not stand by itself. Um, okay, data science trainee, blah blah. A lot of data science here. Okay. 10 dashboards, stakeholders. Okay, that's fine. Machine learning research intern, blah blah. I don't know what this measurement is, but I'm sure it's fine. I think 30% on Chinese. Okay. Okay. That I feel like that's quite good. Okay. Genomics. Okay, so so these are experience. That's whatever. And then now we talk about. So you're going for ML data scientist. Can genomics insight platform. Sure. Yeah, that's fine. Large scale medical data, certainly costs, detailed principles, efficient processing. Makes sense. Streamline data processing, enabling actionable insights. So I feel like this is a redundant point because you said it here already. That's fine. Okay, so I mean, I can't comment too much about the job market for ML data science. That's not really my specialty. Yeah, I can't comment too much on that. What I will say though is that it seems like most of the data that needs to be here is here, and so not much. I can't really help much. I can't help much more on this one, unfortunately. Um, yeah, that's how it is. If I can't help, I won't lie about it. Okay, this guy. Yeah, this looks good. Right, so the comment here is looking for full stack software development, hoping to get a security suite, but open to general full stack while leveraging security background. Okay, good. That's fine. Okay, so yeah, so this is examples of like highly relevant courses to security, right? So this is an example of what you would put in for relevant coursework. Okay, languages, blah blah. That's fine. Technologies, other redenomination. Okay, okay. And then testing generated. Oh, unit testing. Okay, this is fine. But like this would be a good like the other is like a good place to put in non-categorized items. Okay. Oh, this is the most I can zoom in. Okay, whatever. Video security. Okay. Automated monthly report. Okay. Automated monthly report creation. It can use same environments and rest resources. Okay, so one thing that's missing here is the how. Like, how do we automate that? Oh, Power BI dashboard. Okay, I see. Okay, so this okay, so automation you mean by making a dashboard, ingesting data. Okay, no, actually this is fine then. That's fine. That's good. Negotiate. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I think this is a bit underrated, so I think this is okay to put in. It's a bit cheesy, to be honest, but I think it's because it's underrated, it's okay to put in. Just take account. Okay. Probably to enable. Okay. Look more insights. This sounds pretty good, actually. So this one sounds pretty cool. Leveraging full. Okay. Okay. I think this is about as good as you can kind of focus these points down. Co-op software engineer, Berkeley networks, safety IT, team 30 minutes. Okay. Log exports. That makes sense. That's coherent. Internal source code will be linked to full stack remote application if yes Render sheet with Blazor. Yeah, that's pretty high impact. Got integration of on-site security and presenting developers presenting collected specifications, use cases, trade-offs, different AI services. Okay. Trade-offs in different AI services, 5-member region leadership. Guide out the integration of an on-site. Okay. I would say just for sentence structure wise, we're splitting the first part up. So, guide the integration of an on-site AWS security AI model into the like that. Like put a break there. Put a break there. Let it breathe. I think this is still good though, but I would say, yeah, there's kind of two things going on here. So you could even break this down to 2 points. But the first part is about the developers, and the second part is about the leadership. So that's an option. That's an option. Co-op pen tester. Okay. If you try to identify a hardcode secret key, Ruby, okay, Signal Postman. Makes sense. Is Postman a skill you put in, by the way? You should put in Postman there. Stay 2 hours, test of Python, yeah. Current program, web scraping, yeah, okay, that's fine. Verified existence means security for incoming. Okay, I see. Yeah, this makes sense. Fast API. Okay. Okay, so this entire thing is themed about. Okay, so you have API stuff, right? With Postman, Ruby, open source security development analysis. Okay. 2 hours of work per test on open source mode. Okay. I would say if you can quantify what test means in this case, that could be a bit better. Like per package, for example, per open source package, that could be like I don't know what test means in this case essentially. Okay. Client. By implementing security using SSL and OAuth2 and JDT technologies, I would say this is fine by itself. You don't need to say instead of the username password. People who know what OAuth2 is already know that you don't need a security. That OAuth2 handles a login, right? So it's a bit redundant. CI/CD pipeline, blah blah blah. Yeah, that's fine. Optimize data performance indicators. But migrating the processing code from the client to the Django server. Okay, I see. Yeah, that makes sense. That's good too. This one feels like there's a bit more there's a bit more general software skills here that you can lean onto if you need. But since you're going for like a security focused one, I think this is fine. Like what like one sentence here is fine. But for example, if you were to split this into like a software resume, etc. If this is your software resume, for example, then I would put 2 points here. So you could talk a little bit more about how you did the migration and what kind of considerations were made into the Django server or into making the Postgres queries. Okay, so this is full stack app. Academic goals, Next.js, React with Supabase. That makes sense. Migrated risk of potential breaches to the Supabase authentication processing. Okay, that makes sense. Unlimited redundant Supabase clients. React context has some hooks. Okay, test cases. Playwright, view test. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. This is like this. I would say it's a pretty standard issue full stack application. Like this is what everyone needs at least one of. So this is fine. This is still present. So one thing that if you're doing something to the present, I would say is generally good is you want to have like a present tense verb talking about what you're working on right now. So and that should go at the top or the second point. Okay, full stack engineer for a project. This is system. Okay, nice. Okay. Oh, okay, little rust here, little rust. Okay, that's fine. Pretty. I mean, this doesn't take up much room. I think it's fun to put in. Full stack engineer, probably Noah. Notion template for Lancer game host manager knows. Okay, I see. Regular project GraphQL application in Go and Next.js. Yes, okay. Engineer proof of concept Notion template. Okay, so I'd say the word you're missing is proof of concept in Notion or through Notion templates, because it sounds like the goal is to make some Notion template, which is not the case. But yeah, this is fine. Do you have Rust as a language? You do. Okay, cool. Open source. I don't know what that is, but that sounds pretty cool. I like the green color scheme. This is the only other green thing here, so be aware of that. That's gonna cause attention, which is fine, but just be aware of that. That's fine. I would say, if it's open source, put the GitHub here or the whatever open source link is. I think that's a good way to leverage it. Okay, cool. High level. I had a comment again. High level. What was it? The full stack definitely adds credential to the full stack aspect. Everything else is actually quite security focused, which I think is quite good for your goal of going security based. Yeah, I remember now. The high level comment is that there's too much bolding. Generally speaking, I would never bold the same word twice, unless it's like really crucial. Like for example, there's no point bolding Python twice here and here. Python is already a common theme throughout what's going on here. Like you have Python, you had Django over here, which is Python. So there's a bit of redundant bolding. I would not do that much bolding. I think that's necessary, and you can kind of come down. You can kind of see that's the case for a lot of other things. I would say high level wise, I will reduce bolding by half, and you can get away with that. Okay, so now it's 2 p.m. So I'm gonna end these submissions and then work through the rest. There are 5 more, and like I said, the rest of the 5 will still get feedback, but I'm gonna go fast. So this will be like a more realistic, like a recruiter view. Okay, so this guy's comment is full stack dev, QA roles, DevOps, have testing experience, know most concepts. Why is my thing not working? Oh, it is working. It's just not working properly. Have testing experience, know most concepts needed for DevOps. Current issue, hard to get callbacks for relevant roles. Most interviews are system integration at non-tech focused companies. Okay. You are what? Okay, so you're basically first year. If you're in first year, you're not gonna get if you're getting callbacks already, that's already better than a lot of people. Most interviews are system integration at non-tech focused companies, so like DevOps themes. Yeah, okay. But you're looking for a QA. You'll be looking for a full stack QA dev. Okay, full stack as well. Okay, so boom, GP4, from one, only one. Okay, do with your skills. C++, make your database code. Volunteer. This is before you got into university. Okay. Full stack, React testing, Node, material, secure, relational, blah blah. In a test coverage, okay. Constellation maker. Oh, P5JS shout out. P5JS enjoyers. What for cleaning constellation? So if you're making web apps, put a website, right? Website for this kind of stuff is good. If it's like visual, right? If it's visual, a website makes it stand out more. If it's like a banking app, it's fine. You can leave it. Or me, don't know that. It's okay. I would go reverse chronological, right? So here you have, so you're here sending. I would go newest. So I would go newest at the top. Let me see this. Okay. Had a messy front prevention. That should relevant server performance. I would say, okay, this is, that's fine. First year, put some testing points on, that's fine, okay. Light messaging, lightweight, you can definitely quantify that. Quantify lightweight. Yeah, I think this is fine otherwise. Summer, okay. City recommendation, okay. It's for firmware, this is present. This has been 4 months. You've done these 2 things. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, going for more. If you're going for more, okay, full stack QA DevOps. So DevOps are covered, that's for sure. I see two. So this is firmware. This is firmware. If you're not going for firmware, I would reduce the points here and increase the points here, right? And keep in mind, this is like I like P5JS, but keep in mind if you're going for full stack dev, that's just not gonna do anything for you, right? So I would say cut points here, expand this, to talk more about. So this because you have this is front end ish, this is back end. So you have front end over here. I would say in this case, this experience should focus on the back end aspect of this app. Okay, next. I just submitted my resume. Hopefully submit it before 2 p.m. Google Chat doesn't show me the timestamp of your comment, so I can't see when you said that. But if you, as long as you submitted it before 2 p.m., then it would have been in the queue. Okay. Let's take a look. This guy is redacted. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it is. Okay. Okay, comment. Using this resume to apply for AI ML entry-level roles, no work experience, recently graduated, trying for data science roles as well. Okay, so AI ML entry-level roles, no work experience is already a tough sell. Do you have research experience? Don't think so. No research experience. Okay. Do you have regular software experience? No. Okay, so this is going to be a tough sell. Just to get the expectation right? Even entry-level AI ML roles are going to look for masters. That's the kind of the minimum. Or if no masters, they want to see any published research and like relevant projects at like hackathons. Like what's it called? What's that website called that starts with a K that has data on it? They do Kaggle. That's what I'm thinking of. So yeah, Kaggle competitions. That's kind of your open source way in. Anyways, let's take a look. This is oh no, this is done. You graduated. Okay, so master's in computer engineering. Okay, yeah, okay. Major research product privacy preserving prompt. Oh, I saw this one last week, I think. What's changed since last week? Hugging face transformers, scikit-learn, nice. Excuse me. Tableau, that's kind of weird. PySpark, I like that. That's fine. This is fine. Okay, so I mean, how do we get to pass the resume screen? I don't think it's really just a feature of resumes at this point. That's fine. That's good. That's good. It's a bit washy, but that's good. Android application, yeah, we saw this one last week. I mean, I'm not sure what's changed. Wording seems fine. Canon, squared, okay. This is an example where you can actually use a bit of boolean to help yourself. Like, for example, this is like, I mean, this is a mean square error, right? If this is an impressive error, I don't know if this is for Canon, to be honest, but this is impressive, then this would be something that you actually do bold, right? To kind of help draw attention in. Yeah, I feel like this is not really a project thing. The products here look fine. Everything looks just fine. I think this is just a matter of having combination no work experience plus not having an AI academic background makes it a tough sell. Okay. This guy has a cool name. New grad software. Apply for ML Infra GPU engineer roles. Most co-ops are back in full stack. Put my projects first for that reason. Okay. Want to go over a little details, including links. Want to go over a little details with including links. Bolding. Okay, so you want to comment on that, I assume is what you meant. Okay, great. Are you redacted? You are redacted. Then you're good to go. Also, it's kind of cool to see that we have some more GPU engineering requests, which are nice. But GPU engineering, you just mean firmware. GPU is just firmware stuff, especially like at the university level, especially undergrad level. I'm talking about GPU engineering. You're actually just talking about just regular firmware or regular systems programming. There's nothing that's GPU specific about it. That's a skill set wise. Only when you get like later career, like intermediate, senior career wise, then the GPU specific things actually matter. But just don't be don't be deterred by that, because when they hire from university, they aren't looking for any like GPU specific skills. Okay. Bolding links to YouTube. YouTube. What's YouTube got to do with this? You have a YouTube here? I don't see a YouTube. I mean, if you have YouTube, yeah, you can definitely link it. Like YouTube, that's like technical YouTube, talk about your stuff, talk about projects. Yeah, you can definitely put it in. That's good. GitHub wise, yeah, GitHub is good. You should definitely put it in. Subtitles to projects. Where's your projects? You mean like this stuff? Yeah, this is fine. Like, yeah, putting a little summary for what it is totally fine. Yeah. Oh, you mean YouTube isn't here? Yeah. Yeah. Having YouTube stuff to explain what you've done is a bonus. Is good. That's usually more effort than is worth. But if you've done it already, then that's totally good. So yeah, I'd say keep it on. Okay. So let's have a look here. Experience, full stack software intern, blah blah. It's fine, fine, fine. Oh, this looks interesting. Decode from the C sharp. Okay, that's whatever. For to data validation of C dictionaries. Okay, this sounds relevant. Yeah, blah blah. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. This is courseworks. Okay, cool. That's fine. That's good. Do note. So one thing I want to clarify here is that, again, right, building a previous point, is that, like, doing GPU work doesn't just mean, unless you actually mean it, but it generally doesn't just mean doing GPU software work, which is what CUDA is mostly for, right? Like, when you're doing GPU hardware work, you don't actually need to be a CUDA pro. Like, having more general systems knowledge is going to go further than knowing how to use the CUDA product. So that's something to keep in mind. Otherwise, I think the wording here is all fine. And I understand that, yeah. So if your reason for going GPU is putting your projects first, I'm okay with that. I'm personally okay with that above experience. I will say that some of the projects like this one and which one I saw, this one arguably makes more sense than these sort of non-field tech companies. I will say, though, for your sake, that you should have two versions of your resume, right? Have a version which is GPU focused, and then have another version that's just general full stack focused. And as long as you keep the two in sync, I think that's going to be most of the time a better way to kind of go about it. So, just some food for thought for you. Okay, next, two more. Yeah, looks good. Who the hell's calling me? Decline that shit. All right. So this guy's comment is, "Hello, I incorporated my postgraduate in embedded systems last May. I completed my postgraduate in embedded systems last May. Since I lack absolutely no experience, I can't enter embedded field. I'm looking for any intern new grad roles in software related to C/Python." That's quite an interesting stack. I went for a functional types resume since it's went for a hold on, I can't. What is this text? Is this okay? Let me just copy this text in a notepad where I can actually read it, because the way it's formatting is absolutely unreadable. Okay, I went for a functionals type of resume since it's tricky for me. Any tips will help. I'm stuck applying on Ottawa. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. This English is a bit wonky to me, but I think you're asking. You want to go to embedded, but you can't. So you're going for any software roles with C/Python. And I don't understand your last point about your functional resume type, but I'm gonna just ignore that. Okay, so okay, cool, that's fine. This is Altair College. I'm assuming you redacted that. That's fine. Okay. Bachelor degree. Yeah, so depending on what this university is, which you shouldn't, don't tell me, okay? It's like, stay anonymous. Depending on what this is, and depending on what this is, that's gonna be the number one hard sell, is that the academic background is not proven. Like, I don't know what the situation is in Ontario, but in BC, there's one non-university that people will even look at you for. Okay. And honestly, half the universities that are called universities in BC are not universities, which is a different problem, but I won't get into that. Okay. Languages. Git is not a language. Please don't put it here. Design tools, multi-sim. Okay, so very, very heavy on the embedded side. Okay. Protocols. Oh, MQTT. That's kind of interesting to see. TensorFlow. Okay. Okay. And what were you asking again? You were asking in software engineering, they did C/Python. Okay. Raspberry Pi. robotic arm, servo motors testing, 100% success rate. Okay. PV design. Why is this has no sub points? I don't know what that formatting is supposed to imply. Alt team designer. Okay, this is like very micro. I won't read that. Hybrid. Okay. IoT, increased by efficient work distribution, faster task execution, makes sense. Okay, so this is your only piece of work that resembles like a regular like non-firmware experience. I would say yeah, again, right? You should this applies to people. If you have experience in one field but you want to go to another field or vice versa, then you should make a resume version for the field you want to go to. So firmware, right? So this could be a firmware resume, and then make a version resume meant for the other, like the other aspect. In this case, you should make a separate one for general software. Now about general software, so you are like really deep into firmware stuff, right? So it's gonna be hard for you to pivot into a general software in a competitive manner because there's a lot of stuff that's kind of missing here, right? So full stack web app, that was kind of the main thing. Um, if your only languages are embedded C and Python, that's going to be a very hard sell outside of with Python you can do some stuff, right? But like the competition wise, that's going to be rough. So I would say if you're ready to give up on embedded and go all in on like regular software engineering, like non-firmware software engineering, then I could definitely see that being the case. In which case you should I would encourage you to go full stack web app, as per usual, go from there. Otherwise, if you want to go deeper into firmware, I can't really give you guidance on that one. I don't really know too much about that kind of employment. So that's like for me. I would say this for firmware they do. I mean, like in software they do care about like actual credentials. Regardless of the product shop, they do care about credentials. So if the credentials aren't there, then it's gonna be rough. At least that's my experience with most hiring in that kind of field. All right, last one for the day. Wait, did I just go this one? I went up. Okay, last one for the day. Is it redacted? Place your bets. Yes, it is. Cool. J. There we go. All right, what we're looking at here? We're looking at comment, which is my resume passes screens for some big names that I want to break into some bigger companies, Netflix, Pinterest. Okay, thank you. Oh, this is good. If you say specific companies, then I can oftentimes help you. I'll give feedback specific to that. Okay, I want to maximize for 2025 new grad. I like infra platform developer experience work. Oh, developer experience work. I like that too. All right, so TMU, Ryerson. Oh, this is good. Yeah, so for Ryerson, I say this to all my Ryerson people. For Ryerson/TMU, put both names on. But now in 2024, going to 2025, all of the major ATS software I know recognize TMU now. So just a food for thought. Okay, Bachelor of Science, Honors, Computer Science, go up. Okay. You're graduating, not yet, but go in there. Okay, so technical skills, blah, 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 that's fine. No grass fast, okay, that's fine. That's fine. I would say also put GCP and AWS in brackets there, just for ATS purpose. Okay, experience, incoming, Confluent. Nice, Confluent is nice. Kijiji, okay, this is front end. What are you going for? You said infra platform developer experience. Okay, so not front end. Okay, so in that case, I won't read too much about this. That's DevX. That's introduce features. That's doesn't matter. This is DevX. So okay, so good stuff there. That's nice. RVC platform services. Low blah blah. That's fine. This is fine. By streamlining reduce developers to debugging time by 20% by creating a plugin for streamlined logging and Elasticsearch. I like that. That's good. Migrate a full stack application. That doesn't matter. Okay. Metropolitan airspace. Okay, this is interesting. Doesn't matter. Okay. What about these? Song lyrics generator. Okay. Fine tuning open a GPT model mirrors other lyrics. That's good. That's good. That doesn't matter. Dinosaur game replica. Some customer. Okay. Pie game. Look, this is pie game, right? So keep in mind you have 4 lines for pie game, which is not helping resume. Now I like the Dino game, but let's be real here, right? So keep in mind, right? I would probably cut this down to one line. I would say like 1 line for the ML stuff. This is ML. I saw this ML, right? Yeah, reinforcement learning. So I would cut this into 1 line, put a line there, right? This is more interesting. Amethyst, social networking for musicians. That's fine. Okay, Netflix, Pinterest. Netflix is going to be hard to break into just in general because their headcount is very low for this kind of stuff. Pinterest, I know, is also a bit lower, but they have more opportunities than like realistically speaking for new grad. A lot of it is just gonna be luck in a numbers game. I'd say in terms of what you should be doing for resume wise, this is pretty good. There's really not too much to talk about here. I would say in some ways you can even go harder into the min max. So for example, the Dino game, right? Dino game, neural networks, actually have some generational learning, right? So yeah, I think that's really cool. But if you're going for infra platform DevOps, that's not going to do anything. And there's a couple one of these, right? So this is one, for example, that's a point. This is like for full stack. So I would say you should still keep the you should still keep it on. But again, if you're saying, okay, I do not want to do full stack, I don't want to do front end, I only want to do infra platform, great. Make a separate resume for that, right? Like make a V2 resume that just doesn't have any of this like front end fluff. You can go harder into DevOps, you can go hard into platforms, etc. Right? So, just to brainstorm a little bit. If you have V2 here, what would you do? You would get rid of this. You would get rid of this entirely. You would definitely expand on this. This thing you can expand on a little bit. This one I would say is a big one to talk about, so expand on that one. This one doesn't matter either way. This one you can talk about. This one you can talk about. Couple things you can expand on, and I would say for you had a Docker thing here, right? Docker's good. Docker's always good. Infra platforms wise, you can make an infra platforms project, right? So this is one of the few times where you have a full stack basically project like that, or explicitly don't need. You want to go in more to infra, make an infra project. You want to go into DevOps, make a DevOps project. So this is one of those things where your projects are actually not that relevant to your 3 listed goals. So a V2 resume, you can definitely address that. Okay, that is. I'm just double check that this is the right time. Okay, so that's all for now. That's all for now. Next resume review will probably be next weekend. Let me check my calendar. Let me use the right tab for that. Try mentoring. Nope, that's the wrong one. 29. So it might be on 29. Yeah. So I mean, I'll ping the Discord server again. Let everyone know when that's happening. If I know ahead of time, I'll ping earlier. Most of the time, I don't know ahead of time because I don't schedule people in that early on in the week. All right, everyone, get out of here.